Hey, we're back.
Yes. How is the weather where you guys are at?
I heard it's hot in a lot of places. I mean, it is summer.
Well, still, it's a little too uncomfortable for me.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's why I like to have the fan on constantly and the AC on constantly.
Yeah, well, we don't have a check at our home, so we have to deal with whatever we can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know it's hot, like in New York, like in the East Coast, right? It's really hot.
Oh, I cannot really imagine how hot it is there. I remember going to New York a few years ago, and it was pretty hot in February.
Yeah. And I heard that there's like wildfire warnings for LA and stuff like that. So,
Again?
yeah, again,
Oh,
it's still hot. I mean, yeah, wherever you are, be safe.
yes.
Um, But yeah, well, we're back with Briterion Bollection, and we wanted to do one episode at least celebrating Pride Month.
Yes, we're getting into it pretty late just because of scheduling conflicts, but we're at least we're getting started. Better late than never.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we might, have to do some other episodes after Pride Month, but we at least wanted to put one episode together for this, and I figured, okay, what's one of our favorite LGBTQ movies? And I have a few, and I just if we're only going to do one during the actual month, I figured let's do my favorite, which is
Happy Together,
yes,
directed by Wong Kar Wai.
yes, exactly,
And by the way, this is another episode of Criterion Collection, as mentioned. This is our host,
Kevin, and this is my wife.
Aileen.
Thank you for the intro.
Yes.
Um, yeah, so happy together. I really love this movie. Um, it's arguably one of my it's one of my favorite films, definitely all time. So it's arguably my favorite Wong Kar Wai film, and Wong Kar Wai is arguably one of my favorite directors. Like, if not my favorite, he's one of them. He's in my top three. You know. Um,
Yeah,
so
he's that good.
yeah, and so I wanted to talk a little bit of kind of how I discovered Wong Kar Wai. So when I graduated high school is when I kind of got started getting more into films and stuff like I already kind of had this interest, but after that, after graduating high school, I just felt like more liberated, more free to just be myself, and not hang. I wasn't hanging out with my same friends that I had in high school. I was in college now, and I could kind of explore what I was really into. Um, so I started watching a lot of foreign films and weird films, any weird films I can get my hands on. So I remember I got really into Takashi Miike because I really loved Kill Bill from Tarantino, and I remember reading an interview with him where he said he was really into Japanese pop cinema of the time, and he was kind of explaining what that was. So then I kind of started Googling a little bit at that time. And the internet was, there was no social media really at that time. So it was a little more rudimentary. You had to dig deeper for things to find things.
Mhm.
And whatever limited supply there was at Blockbuster was the foreign films I could watch, but then Netflix started coming out I think I got a Netflix subscription like in '04. So, and that's when they would do the mail DVDs in the mail at the time. So I would get a lot of foreign films from that.
Mhm.
And I remember, so I got into Mike. I watched Audition, and I loved that. And then I wanted to see more Mike, so I saw his film Dead or Alive. And on the DVD for Dead or Alive, they had a bunch of trailers because Dead or Alive was released by Kino Pictures International, and they had a bunch. I guess because it was a Japanese movie, they had a lot of Asian trailers on that one. They released other types of movies, but it made it seem like they only released Asian movies on that.
Mhm.
So they had all these Asian trailers on there, and I was like, let me watch these trailers, see if they're any good, So I started watching some, and one of the trailers was for Fallen Angels from Wong Kar Wai, which I hadn't seen yet, and then one trailer was for Happy Together, and I was like, oh, these movies seem pretty good. Maybe I'll try to check them out sometime. So I think I think they had a VHS or something of Fallen Angels at Blockbuster that I rented, and I saw that, and it kind of blew me away. I was like, oh shit, like this is really cool. Like I really love the cinematography and the soundtrack, and just everything was really cool. The editing, really loved it. Not long after that, I rented Happy Together, I think, from Netflix on DVD, and I was even more blown away. I was like, wow, this is really good. Yeah, the cinematography, especially the writing, just everything, the music he used. I was like, wow, this guy's really good. And then I realized, oh yeah, this is the same director as that. He did both these films, and then by coincidence, I was going to Suncoast a lot at that time, and I was just buying a lot of random
R.I.P.
movies. Yeah,
Just like Blockbuster.
yeah, Suncoast was great. So I would go there a lot. It was at the mall. They had one at Plaza Bonita, and I would go
Yes.
there often. And they had a lot of cool stuff, and not just movies, but like paraphernalia and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But they had a lot of good
Well,
foreign ones.
would it be paraphernalia or memorabilia?
I guess memorabilia, different stuff. They would have toys or
Yeah.
posters and stuff.
I remember when Suncoast was closing down, I bought a pack of Star Wars Pez that I regret letting them get into the hands of someone who destroyed that collection for me.
Well, sorry,
It's okay.
but yeah,
It happens.
yeah. I used to go to Suncoast all the time, and whatever money I had around, I would spend it. I would buy some movies, that were hard to find. So I bought a lot of foreign ones. And one time, I guess they did a re-release of Chungking Express on DVD. So, because I saw that there, and because I saw Tarantino's face in the corner, I was like, "What the hell is this crap?" Like, it's because it said like Tarantino presents, and I was like, "Wait, what?" And then I looked at it, and I was like, "Oh, this is Wong Kar Wai." Um, Little did I know that that would be his like most famous film. I just randomly bought it because I liked his other films that I saw, and then when I took it home and watched it, I was like, "Oh wow!" Like this still feels like him, but it almost feels like bigger. Like it feels more poppy in a way.
Yeah.
Like little did I realize, that was like his biggest film at that time. Um, and then I saw In the Mood for Love, and In the Mood for Love has grown in stature over the past few years. It wasn't like 20 years ago. It still wasn't um, that infamous, I would say, but just in general, Wong Kar Wai's stature has grown a lot since the rise of social media, I think. So that's kind of how I discovered Wong Kar Wai, and I remember when 2046 was coming out, I was really eagerly anticipating that because it was like his next movie that came out while I just had discovered him. And then that was going to come out like in '05 over here in the States. And then I remember me and my friend went to Landmark and they showed Days of Being Wild. That was like in '04 too. So it was like just all this coincidence, like all this Wong Kar Wai stuff was happening, and I just so happened to discover it at that time. So when me and my friend saw Days of Being Wild in the theater, I was blown away by that. I was like, oh shit, that was really good, and it tied in with all his other stuff. I felt like it totally had his look, had his universe, and the cinematography by Christopher Doyle really. I really fell in love with that too. And then when it was like a couple years later when he did My Blueberry Nights, so I got to see that in the theater, which I was happy to see that because you don't really see his movies in the theater really very often. Maybe nowadays more so, but at that time you wouldn't really see his movies.
Yeah, it depends where too. I think if you're in LA and New York, you're more likely to see them.
Right.
Yeah, which we actually did see Chunking Express while we were in New York. Was it at the IFC? Or
I think it was, yeah, because they were doing like this Wong Kar Wai retrospective that same week we were there, and it was like, oh, it's perfect, like,
yeah,
because he is one of my favorite directors, if not my favorite, and this all culminates in a weird thing because I remember we were Well, first off, we've had an interesting history with Comic Con because I had actually never gone to Comic Con despite growing up in San Diego and being into comics. I had never gone to Comic Con.
Yeah, I actually only went once before it really blew up. And it, I mean, it's always been somewhat of a hassle to get around it, but now I imagine in the past 15 years or so, it has gotten even worse.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But what was weird is that in 2012 we were just walking around outside during Comic Con. Like I didn't even realize it was Comic Con at the time. I just thought we were walking around downtown San Diego at the time, and then I we come to a stoplight and we're at the crosswalk about to walk, and then this SUV pulls up like right at the stoplight, and I look up and I see Tarantino sitting there in the SUV,
Yeah,
and I was like,
he was in the back seat.
yeah, and then he was like looking right at me, and I was like, hey, and I like waved at him. He's like, hey, man. And I just like ran up to him, and I was just like, hey. And then I think I had you take a picture.
Yes,
right?
I took his
Yeah.
picture.
So I took a couple pictures with Tarantino in the car, and he was like, oh, it turned green, and I was like, yeah. And Aileen took a few pictures of me while I was like looking at him and looking at the light and stuff. And I said, I'd love to hang out with you sometime, man. Let's watch some movies. And he was like, yeah, let's do it. That's what he said. Um,
I don't feel the same way now as I did at the time. For let's just say political reasons, which I'm not gonna take too much time saying that right now.
right.
Yeah.
So that was interesting seeing him there. And then the next year, we were hanging around Comic Con, not inside, we were just hanging around outside.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw some guy was passing out some comic books to people, and some people grabbed it, and some people were like, "This crap, I'm not interested in it." And I was walking by, and I almost didn't grab it, but then the guy gave me one, and I looked at it. I was like, "Wait!" And I saw, and the comic said "The Grandmaster," and it was signed, and I was like, "Wait!" I was like, "Isn't this the Wong Kar Wai film? Like he's gonna release this soon?"
Mm-hmm.
And so I asked the guy who passed it out. I was like, "Oh, is this for Wong Kar Wai?" And he was like, "Oh yeah." He was like, "Yeah, he's actually gonna do a premiere of it tonight." I was like, "He is?" And I was like, he's like, "Yeah," and he's like, "He's gonna be here to present it." I was like, "He is?" And I was like, "Oh my god!" I was freaking out. And he's like, "Yeah," he's like, Go to this theater and show the comic, and you'll get in or whatever." And I was like, "Oh shit, then we have to go." So we went to this midnight screening, and then all of a sudden Wong Kar Wai came out and he introduced the film.
He presented the film.
Yeah, and it was just like, oh my god, like I never thought I would be in his presence.
Yeah, it was amazing to be in the same room as him.
Yeah, like in San Diego, no less. I felt like if I ever did meet him, it would be in Hong Kong or something like that. No, I wasn't expecting Wong Kar Wai in San Diego.
Yeah, we just think our hometown is just it just has this real lameness to it, so you just don't expect it.
Yeah, exactly. So it was amazing to be like feet away from him. Uh, so yeah, that's like kind of my journey with Wong Kar Wai. And then it's just kind of weird that I've met these random filmmakers. Like we were at Coachella, and I met Eli Roth. He was standing in front of us.
Yeah, well, he's part of the whole Tarantino clan, isn't he?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. So it was just interesting that he was there right in front of us. I think he was watching Fever Ray at the time.
Yes, and at the time, I don't know if a lot of people knew this, but I guess he was dating Peaches Geldof, R.I.P.
Yeah, he was like holding her, he was like hugging her while they were watching it, and then she ends up passing away a few years later. So it was just really interesting. The one guy I hadn't met through random circumstances, Mike. I never got to, I haven't been able to see him at all. But we'll talk about a Mike film soon.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's my journey with Wong Kar Wai.
Well, my journey with Wong Kar Wai is that Kevin was the one who introduced him to me when we first met because I didn't really have a lot of resources. I didn't have anybody to talk about movies with. before I met Kevin, because no one else I knew really had the same taste or really was looking for the same genres as me. And I didn't really have a lot of resources because I was really broke for a long time. So it's not like I could just go to a video store and rent movies. So I actually started checking them out from the library. Yeah, I was that poor. But fortunately, I no longer have that issue.
Yeah.
So now we just have a plethora. We have all sorts of outlets nowadays.
Yeah, exactly. Got streaming, got tons of DVDs and stuff. So yeah, we have a lot of access to films now. But yeah, let's we can get into the film.
Sure.
So I like how you see this shot of Tony Leung standing in front of his closet mirror, and it's just kind of a cold intro. You don't really know what that's referring to, but and then we see the title card like kind of big pop up on the screen, and we cut to their passports being stamped to get into Argentina, and you see
By
the pictures. Yeah, you see the pictures there. And, you know, I love getting my passport stamped. You know, like when we went to Europe and stuff. I loved. I just love collecting those. You know.
I wish I could have even more, honestly.
Yeah, I wish that too.
But when you have three felines, it's gotten a lot more challenging to travel.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard with fur babies, you know. Even though I don't know how that guy travels with like 3 cats, like.
He has 4.
Yeah, and they just like hang on to him.
If I don't remember the cats' names, but if we ever happen to stumble upon it, it's amazing that he can travel with.
Yeah, I wish we could do that. But he can do that.
I seriously, I don't think I've ever been that jealous of anybody in my life.
And his cats are fine wearing clothes, which our cats fucking hate clothes.
Yeah, it's the absolute worst for them. I'm like, you guys would look so cute.
Yeah, because we have really good-looking cats, but they don't want to wear clothes, unfortunately. But
yeah,
and then they cut right to the gay sex in the movie.
pretty graphic, honestly.
Yeah, but I think Wong Kar Wai just kind of wanted to establish that and get it early out of the way, you know, like kind of show that and be like, okay, if you don't want to watch this, this is where you can leave now. You know what I'm saying? If you're disturbed by this, just leave the theater right now. I think he wanted to get
not that there would be anything else like that for the rest of the film.
I mean, there is a little bit.
Yeah, but not as much as there
not
was
to
in
that
the beginning.
extent. But I think he wanted to set the tone early. You know.
Which I think it's a good
film.
If you want to ask for your refund.
Yeah, exactly. And
which I actually don't have any issue, but
right. And just great shots by Christopher Doyle, switching from color to black and white, back again, and so Christopher Doyle is or was, I guess, Wong Kar Wai's regular cinematographer. I don't know if they've worked as much lately together.
He's Australian, right?
Yeah, he's Australian. So he's a pretty interesting guy because he is Australian and he's kind of moved around. Like he lived in France for a bit, and I think he lived in the Middle East for a bit. And obviously he made his way to Asia and Hong Kong in particular. And I guess he just really loves the environment there. And he ended up getting into film, and I love how artistic he is. Like him and Wong Kar Wai just have a real synergy. They just work together so well, and Doyle, I guess he worked with the filmmaker Edward Yang originally, and Wong Kar Wai liked his work on that, and I think he thought it was cool. This white Australian guy, working in Hong Kong, thought it was kind of cool, so he offered him to work on his film. I guess Days of Being Wild. This was his first one, which I thought came out beautiful. I loved the cinematography in that. But I guess they didn't have a very good time on that film. I guess they kind of got into arguments a lot. they kind of hated each other by the end of it. So they kind of were like, okay, we're not working together ever again after they did Days of Being Wild. But then, I guess a couple of years later, Wong Kar Wai bumped into him at the airport or something, and they kind of like rekindled their friendship. So then he ended up working with him on his next couple films again, and then that's what really he ended up working on all his films basically after that. He did all those. He did Ashes of Time, Chungking Express, Fallen Angels, Happy Together, and In the Mood for Love. Uh, and then I think he worked a little bit on 2046, but he wasn't like the main cinematographer. He had like a few different ones. Uh, but yeah, they have a great relationship, and it's cool because Doyle can speak Chinese. He knows. I think he knows Cantonese and Mandarin. And he speaks a few languages. I think he speaks French too, and stuff like that. So
that's more than I expected.
Yeah, no, he's pretty talented. He's a good polyglot too. So yeah, there's just beautiful shots. And a lot of it was him helping with that. Even though I feel like Wong Kar Wai is kind of his own cinematographer. He kind of tells the cinematographer what he wants, and they just execute it. It's because when he's worked with other cinematographers like Darius Kanji on Days no in My Blueberry Nights, you can see it has a similar look. It has a really similar look to Doyle's
I noticed
style.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
Even though they're different. Mm-hmm. And then we cut to, so they're trying to get to Iguazu Falls, yes. But they're lost. They're hella lost.
Well, they accidentally went on the opposite direction.
Yeah, exactly. Which has happened before in other films, right?
Yeah. A much sillier film that we're gonna talk about some other time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so this is pre-GPS, so it's just you would need paper maps, and that's just hard, I think, to get around. You would have to be really good with directions and stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
to get around at that time. And so they basically break up at the beginning. They get into arguments, on the road, and they kind of break up right then and there. Even though they're kind of stuck together, being in this foreign country and being Chinese. But yeah, it does look like a.
Well, are they really Chinese or Hong Kongers?
Well, I mean, I guess they're Hong Kong, and actually, I guess they're supposed to be Taiwanese.
Taiwanese, that's true. I noticed that part too.
Yeah, but it's kind of all connected.
Oh. Okay.
And then we cut to this long shot of the falls, of Iguazu Falls, and it just lingers, and you see the whole aerial shot of it, and I love that shot. And you see like the birds flying around in there. It looks really cool.
And in the background, you hear there is a version of Cucurucucu Paloma, and it was done by Caetano Veloso, a great Brazilian musician.
Right. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's the definitive version. To me, that his version.
Yeah, I mean, the song has been covered so many times, but I would say that his is definitely one of the best.
Yeah, like until I got more familiar with the history of that song, I thought he originated that song, because to me it just sounds so definitive. Well, only afterwards did I realize, oh, this is like a folk song, but it's been around forever. But yeah, like, to me, Moonlight uses this song too, but I just felt like it was unoriginal when they did it.
I don't know. I feel that I really had to sit down and watch Moonlight, because I feel that I hear like I'm not saying that you're trying to be negative, but I just really want to really sit down and absorb the movie, because it seems like you feel like that movie is trying a little too hard to be.
Yeah, to me, I felt like, to me it's overrated, because I think the director thought that, we can just take these things that you see in Wong Kar Wai films and Almodovar films and put them in an African American context, and that makes it great. or whatever, which I don't necessarily agree with. Like, to me, you still have to have originality to what you do. You can't just pluck the same songs, the same sort of mise en scène that other directors do. Just because other people aren't familiar with those references doesn't make you original. They just don't know the references. You know what I'm saying? Um, that's why I just felt underwhelmed by Moonlight, because it's like, oh, I've already seen this in Happy Together, and Happy Together did it so much better. You know, or I feel like I've already seen this in Almodovar films, and Almodovar did it a lot better than this. Um, I mean, I get that they're probably just trying to show that sort of thing within a African American context, but to me, it when I compare them all together, you see Moonlight getting all the credit as opposed to these other films not really getting that type of stature. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Especially when it was a U.S. production, they'll definitely get way more exposure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because even Almodovar used this song, and I think he knew. And I'm sure Almodovar had seen Happy Together, so I think he knew. He obviously could see that this song is in that movie, but Almodovar actually kind of one-upped him, because in Talk to Her, he actually has Caetano Veloso there singing the song. You know, so it's like, okay, well, I'll use that song, but I'll actually have him there in the scene doing it.
That's definitely way better.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that it's kind of cool. And then after that shot of the falls, we cut to a bus pulls up, and it's black and white, and they're Chinese tourists riding into Buenos Aires, and we see Tony Leung, who plays Phi. He works at this like tango bar, basically, and he's kind of like a doorman slash host slash waiter, I guess. So he's working there, and then we see Leslie Cheung pull up, and he's Ho Po Wing is his name, and he pulls up to the bar with these Argentinian guys. He's kind of like arm in arm with them. It's like, wow, he made friends pretty fast. And we hear the tango music and the dancers. They're dancing on this checkerboard floor, and it kind of looks like Rules of the Game, the French film from Jean Renoir. They had this checkerboard floor in that film. It was kind of iconic, so it kind of reminded me of that. And Tony Phi is sad to see Popo Wing like move on so quickly, you know, without him, and he kind of rubs it in his face being at the bar that he works at. It's like he can go to any bar, but he goes to that one, you know, that he works at. So you could see the sadness in Phi's face, and just the shots in this. I love it. Like, I love the shot. We see a shot in slow mo through the window. Tony Phi smoking outside, and we see through the Bar Sur sign there, and I love that. And there's a great shot at the end of that scene. We see a shot from inside the car with Leslie driving away, and with the guys like as he smokes, and then we see Tony through the window.
Wait, so are we going to be using the actors' names or the characters' names? I'm a bit confused.
Well, okay, so I'll try to keep it consistent.
Okay.
So we see Ho Po Wing driving away with these guys in the car, and he's smoking, and we don't realize that it's gonna zoom, and we see Phi in the background smoking behind him, and it's brilliant. And we hear this Frank Zappa song kick in, and I remember because I love this movie so much, I had my friend borrow the movie, the DVD at the time, and I was like, "You have to watch this. This movie's fucking great." And I remember when she gave it back to me, she was like, "Yeah, it was okay." I was like, "What?"
I just feel like she was really hard to please.
She felt like there wasn't much story to it. She was like, "Oh, it's just cool shot after cool shot after cool shot." Like, I didn't get much story.
But I feel that a lot of times that's what really makes a movie.
Yeah, I mean, you need. To me, it isn't just cool shot after cool shot. Like, there is a story to it.
When you really look at it, yeah, there are a lot of metaphors in it.
Yeah, there's a story to it. It has heart, has emotion to me, and it just so happens that they're great filmmakers and visualists, so that's why there is a lot of cool shots in it. Phi then gets a call at the bar, and it's Ho Ho Wing. We cut, and we see him at his apartment or something, and Phi is at his place, and we see the infamous Iguazu Falls lamp that he has.
Oh, yeah.
That you see.
Yeah, it just looks like one of these cheesy souvenirs.
Yeah.
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 But there's something kind of cool about it.
Yeah. Now, I know that there's the Spanish director, Isabel Coixet is her name, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, because she did this film, My Life Without Me, starring Sarah Polley, and I remember in the interview she was saying, "Oh, I have this lamp. It's from Happy Together. I love that film." And she was showing, that's why I got this lamp, because it's from there. So it's kind of funny. I wanted to find that lamp, but I could never find it. I don't know.
Even maybe online?
I mean, maybe nowadays they have it, but I at the time I couldn't find it. 20 years ago, 15 years ago. So Phi goes to the bathroom, and he sees Wing, and Wing comes out, and he's with another English guy speaking English, and he smokes and takes off with him. And where Phi is staying at, there's he's staying with some family, some Argentinian family.
Mm-hmm.
And they're living in chaos, they're arguing every time we see them, and he's kind of just doesn't know what to do.
Yeah, well, I don't know if they really get that from having Italian ancestry, because for those who don't know, even though all of Argentina is pretty Hispanicized, but there was a lot of Italian immigration, so they still have that kind of influence. So I don't know if that's really where they get it, but
yeah, that could be for sure. And we see this classic Wong Kar Wai shot of Buenos Aires, just the plaza, the square there, the city center.
Is it the city center, or is it the main road?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the main road.
I would say it's the 9 de Mayo.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Okay.
So we see the classic shot of that, the time lapse and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you see the green and red that he's known for, his lighting with those two colors in particular. He's able to have a real trademark with those colors when he uses those colors in shots. And so Wing goes to Phi's apartment, and he just tries to start making out with him. And Phi is pissed off. He's like, what the fuck? You can't just do that.
Yeah, I don't blame him for it.
Yeah. And I like his fuzzy cardigan that Wing has. It's very Bjorkish looking.
Very fitting for the time on it.
Yeah, it was 97. So that would have been Homogenic, right? Or Vespertine. What album is that?
I would assume it was it Homogenic?
Well, it was the third one. So what was the third album? So debut, post, and then the third was 97.
I thought it was. You know what? Yes, it was Homogenic.
Okay, yeah. So Homogenic, yeah. So, yeah, but I mean, Bjork was huge at that time.
Yeah, she was. I still love and respect her.
Yeah, she's great. So he tries making out with him, but he pushes him off him, and then they just start fighting. And Phi tells him, I had no regrets until I met you. Now my regrets could kill me. They get into a really big argument there. And we see Phi walks out, and Wing just starts to cry on the bed. And I love that. Him just shaking on the bed, from crying.
Mm-hmm.
It's a nice shot. We cut to Wing comes into the bar with his leather jacket, and he comes in and just gives a watch to Phi.
Mm-hmm.
And he gives it to him. He's like, like, I don't want this shit, or whatever. And then he's like, well, you can sell it if you want. And then he drives off, Wing. And so Fi looks at it and then he just throws it on the ground. And then he's like drinking a beer and he throws the beer on the ground. And then like we see him kind of thinking about it and then he's like, okay, let me grab this watch. Like he picks it up.
Okay, I guess. Way to make up your mind.
Yeah, so he picks it up and keeps it. And then Wing comes back to Fi and Wing has a black eye. And he says he wants the watch back. And Fi is like, fine.
Yeah.
And they go onto the bus, and Fi tells Wing to sit in the back to hide his black eye. And Wing is like pissed off, kind of, because he's like, oh, like you're finally going to acknowledge it? Because, you know, I knocked on your door and you didn't say anything about my black eye. He's like, but now you're like ashamed of it. You don't want me to sit with you. And Fi's just like, shut up and sit over there. But like seeing this, even back when I first saw this, like their arguments, it just feels real. Like it feels like they're a straight couple. Like that's why why the gay aspect never like jarred me in a way, because it just felt so natural.
Yeah, but we should also see that no matter what kind of couple it is, no matter whether they're straight or queer, there's still at the end of it's still a relationship. So
yeah,
there's no discrimination there. If you see what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, exactly. But I think a lot of people, at least before, maybe, I mean, obviously, people understand more now, but I think at that time, people didn't think of it that way. You know, they thought of gays being in the minority, and straight people didn't want to know about their lives. But in this film, they did a good job of showing that it's the same. They argue the same way straight people argue. And their relationships are just as tumultuous. And that's what I liked about it when I saw it. I was like, oh, wow, like, these guys argue and it's really realistic. It's the same sort of thing.
Yeah, that's a good way to see it.
Yeah. And so they go to this bar, and I love the salsa music that plays there. Like, like I think it was just a band, just a local, like the house band, and they recorded it, and because they have some of the music on the soundtrack. So, but I love that salsa music that they play there, and they both get cigarettes out, and he lights his cigarette with his, like they kind of, you know, he touches it to light it up, and I didn't realize that there's slow motion there. There's this slow motion that kicks in right there. And Fi tells him, like, don't come looking for me again. He tells him. And we see Fi back at the bar where he works, and he's drinking a lot. He's, like, drinking on the job. Had a lot of alcohol. And then Fi has the old man where he stays. He tells him to lie for him so he doesn't have to talk to Wing when Wing calls. Yeah. And then Wing just shows up one day, and he's all bloody. I guess he got all beat up. Yeah. And Fi is sad to see him that way, so he hugs him at the door when he sees him like that. And he takes him to the hospital, and they bandage him up. Like both his hands are all bandaged up. And he tells him, it's like what he always says. He always tells Fi, you Fi, let's start over. Like he always wants to start over. And Fi keeps taking him back. You know, he keeps agreeing with him. Like, okay.
Yeah. Not that you want to blame someone, but that's where he should have tried to end things, really.
Right. Like I guess he loved him so much that he just couldn't quit him, you know, just like Brokeback Mountain, you know?
Yeah, but this was a really toxic and abusive relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. But it just shows you that people just can't can't do it. They can't just break up like that. It's hard for them. So they ride in a cab, and it's back in color after being in black and white for a while. And this Astor Piazzolla music kicks in, and I really like his music. I mean, this is where I first heard his music, but I just fell in love with it. Wong Kar Wai, he's a real genius when it comes to choosing music. He chooses the perfect music for every scene, and hearing the like just worked so well with the visuals.
Yeah.
And like hearing that, I fell in love with his music. I remember I think I even bought some random CDs I found of his. I became that much of a fan. And in the car, we see that great shot of him resting his head on his shoulder. Wayne resting his head on Fi's shoulder, and that's the poster. That's the movie poster, basically.
Yeah.
And Wayne tells Fi that he hasn't seen the falls yet because he was waiting for him. And he's like, yeah, maybe we can go later. And Fi kind of doesn't really say anything, but he's like, he kind of lets him think like, okay, yeah, maybe we'll go together someday. And we see Fi, he takes Wayne's passport.
Yeah.
He pulls it aside and hides it. These guys like to wear tighty whities a lot.
What a detail that you're including over here. But yeah, they are a lot in their underwear. Yes, they do wear briefs a lot.
That was me when I was a little kid. I wore tighty whities until middle school.
Well, did you just change that afterwards on your own?
Yeah, like because everyone else had boxers, and I was like the only one wearing, tight white underwear.
Does that really feel uncomfortable?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't notice it at the time, but afterwards, yeah, I'd rather wear boxers. So yeah, it was like everyone else had boxers, so I'm like, okay, I need to switch to boxers now. So, but I used to wear that same tight white underwear that these guys wear.
I just feel that, well,
Yeah.
I guess if that's what you like to wear, okay. But if you're a parent and if you see your kids start being uncomfortable by tidy whities, maybe start looking for other options for them.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, at that point, that's when I told my parents, I was like, "Give me some damn boxers." And then they got me some damn boxers. But that's what's crazy is that straight up boxers nowadays are kind of hard to find. You can't find those boxers anymore, really.
Yeah, they're pretty hard to find nowadays. You go look around now; they have boxer briefs, which is
so the hybrid of the two, which I don't like really. I prefer just straight up boxers, classic boxers. Which is why I wanted to start my own boxer company.
Well, we really need to make it happen, though.
Yeah, it's still in the works. And then we see Buenos Aires again. Was it Nueva de Mayo?
Yeah.
And we see the time lapse, and it's just amazing. I love that. Wong Kar Wai is so good with that. We see people steal from him. Like, a lot of people try to steal from Wong Kar Wai, but they can't do it like him. No. The guy who did Moonlight tried it. Even Ang Lee admits he tries to do it, but he even admits I'll never be as good as him. So at least he admits it.
Yeah.
Sofia Coppola thanked Wong Kar Wai when she won the Oscar for Lost in Translation, and to me, she's not as good as he is.
But she gave him credit, though.
Yeah. No, she did. But I'm saying just skill-wise, to me, he's just a great visualist. And that's the thing. People steal from him because they think he just, makes music videos. And, that they think of him as, he's just a music video director. That's his style. But he really isn't. He's not. It's he is an MTV director, but he really isn't. Because he comes more from that Godard school. and I would never throw Godard as like an MTV director. It's really the European art film school. That's really what Wong Kar Wai came from. He just did it in this Asian context, and that's what people miss. Like they just think, oh, I'm gonna show these cool visuals and stuff, and that makes it look like Wong Kar Wai, right? And it's like, no, that isn't what makes it look like Wong Kar Wai. It's the artistry of it. You kind of have to do the research first. Yeah, and it'll show in your work. Like to me, I can tell when something is just being fake and when it's real. When I see Wong Kar Wai or Wes Anderson, and obviously any of the other guys before them, Tarantino and stuff, like I can see that it's real. The talent is real, and they've done their research. I can see it. It's in every frame of the film. It's when I see other guys after that, like I can see there's like a fakeness to it. Like I see a film and it's like, oh, these guys haven't done their research. They haven't done their homework. Not like these other guys. I can tell they have. So.
Yeah, well, speaking of not having done the research, well, that's something that, at least on my end, I feel that I didn't do enough of, because now you probably, if you're watching the video right now, which if you haven't, you should become a Patreon member.
Yeah, Patreon VIP.
So you probably saw that I was on my phone looking up something, and actually, if you see the avenue that they show shots of in the movie, I always said 9 de Mayo. That was wrong. It's not 9 de Mayo. It's 9 de Julio. Yes.
Wrong month.
Yes, wrong month. Oh. Yeah, we're 2 months off. Which actually, that date is coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, so.
Yeah.
So yeah, 9 de Julio. That's the name of the one of the main avenues in Buenos Aires.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like their Times Square kind of.
Yeah. It kind of does remind me of Times Square.
Yeah. So yeah, that was my spiel on Wong Kar Wai.
Mm-hmm.
And we see Phi. He's cooking for Wing. He's fixing him soup and rice, and food looks good.
Chinese food. Definitely. Well, yeah, I'm getting hungry just thinking about it right now.
Yeah, and he washes him out. He scrubs his back for him because he can't do it himself. And I really like in this place. I really like the tiles on the wall. I don't know if that was already there, or if they put that there, but William Chang, he's a really good production designer.
Yeah, there's a possibility that it was already there, but if they want to check the place on, they could have said, this is where we're setting it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the thing. That's what's cool about William Chang, because he's multi-talented. I love that, because he's his editor as well. He's his editor / production designer. So when he's on set, he can create the look of it, and then in post-production, he cuts it together, which I think is great. I love people who are multi-talented like that.
Yeah, for sure.
And Wing tells Phi to disinfect his bed because he has fleas. And he's like, I don't have any damn fleas. What are you talking about? He's like, yeah, you got fleas. Yeah, fleas suck. When cats have fleas, that's horrible.
Yeah, once our cats had fleas, and that was huge work having to eradicate them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wing wants to go smoke, but there's no more cigarettes. So Phi goes out and he buys 2 packs of Le Mans, which I guess that is the go-to cigarette in Argentina.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that before. That's what they like to smoke. Yeah. Wing tries to sleep on top of Phi, basically jumps on top of him. But Phi tells him there's not enough room. He's like, yeah, there's enough room. He's really trying to sleep with him. He bites Phi, and Phi's like, what the hell are you biting me? He gets annoyed. And he tells him to sleep on the other bed. And you can tell that he's just trying to avoid it.
Yeah.
He doesn't want that proximity. He doesn't want to fall for Wing's charms and then let him back in, Because the whole thing is he's just helping him while he's recuperating. They're not getting back together, but but Wang is trying to use it to like get back together.
Well, yeah, of course. He's, if you haven't noticed, he's definitely been just, how would you say it? He's just been taking advantage this whole time.
Yeah. And then Fi's like, you better not touch me. And the Wang's like, me touch you? Like, you better not touch me. Like,
yeah, yes, reverse psychology, sure.
yeah, it's fun. And then Fi gets a pizza, and they go out walking on the bridge, walking in the rain. It's a nice little shot. And then Fi gets sick because they're walking in the rain.
Yes.
And now Wang has to take care of him. And so while Fi's sick, shivering in bed, Wing like wakes up, and he's like, "Hey," he's like, "Can you get up and cook something?"
He's like, really? Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
Look at me. I'm sick, and you're still asking me to cook you something?
Cut to him cooking fried rice.
Yeah, he gave in anyway. It's just one of those things. It's funny, but it's like, why do you give in still?
Yeah.
Yeah, he has been such a pushover this whole time.
Yeah. And I think that's why he took his passport, because he's like, oh, if I can't tell you verbally no, I'm just gonna do something that sabotages
you. Yeah.
So yeah, that's probably one of the funniest scenes, I think, in the whole movie.
And besides the watch.
Yeah, it's another funny scene. We cut to them at the racetrack, and they're cheering on the horses, and I guess Wayne wins some money. You know, these guys are hella broke, but he somehow wins some money. And then it's weird. He's like running to go cash his ticket, and then he's going down the stairs, and then we see some guy. He runs by some guy, and there's just some guy standing there, and it's weird because it makes you think that he like knows him or he did something with him, but I don't think there's any significance to it.
I don't think so either.
But it's just kind of weird that the guy's just standing there, and then he has this weird look on his face. Yeah. I think he like scared him, like they just kept it in the movie.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Cut to, we see Wing. They're at home, and he's showing Fi how to tango. They're in that little kitchen area, which is a weird looking kitchen because it looks like abandoned. Like there's nothing there, but everything there works, I guess. They just have these really minimalistic burners, but everything works there because you see them cooking like in the next scene. You see the family there, but he's teaching them tango, and we hear that Astor Piazzolla music again.
Mm-hmm.
And then they start to kiss while they do that. So it's like they're coming back together again, you know?
Yeah.
Then Fi is at the bar where he's the doorman, and he's drinking, and a cab pulls up, and some Argentinian guy pulls up, and then he's there with this Chinese guy, and they almost make you think that it's Wing. I guess it's trying to do that on purpose.
You. Yeah.
But yeah, it's not really him. But then Fi just goes into the bar, and you hear something break. You hear some glass break or something. And then Wing gets a call at Fi's place.
Mm-hmm.
And we just hear him. He's like, hola. He just answers the phone. And Fi is walking around, and Wing finds him. And he tells him he got a call from his work saying that he quit. And Wayne wants to know why he quit, but he won't tell him. And he's like, come on, tell me. He's like, I won't tell you. He's like, come on. Like, he's really trying to get it out of him. So then Fi starts to work at a Chinese restaurant, which I guess that's a real restaurant because if you have the DVD, there's a really good featurette, like making of, and they talk all about shooting it there. And it's pretty interesting because you know, they met some Chinese people who were there. They have a really small Chinatown. It's probably bigger now, but at the time it was really small.
Mm-hmm.
They talk about the Chinese people they met there and how they like immigrated there and stuff. It's pretty interesting. So that was a real Chinese restaurant where he was. And then we meet this other young guy in the kitchen. I think his name is Chang, and he's like a dishwasher and cook. And what's when you're first watching this, you don't realize that you're gonna get his perspective too. And then because then you start hearing his voice on the voiceover. You're like, oh, okay, I guess this guy's part of this kind of too.
Yeah.
So we get his perspective, and that guy really likes to listen. He likes to close his eyes and listen, and that's how it's almost like he's blind. You know how blind people use their other senses more?
Yeah.
He's kind of like that. Like he doesn't use his eyes, he uses his ears more. And
so his hearing is more heightened.
Yeah, and he can hear that Fi is on the phone, and I guess he's talking to Wing. They're like arguing kind of. Chang is like, oh, he must be talking to someone he likes. Like, that's what he says.
Well, I don't know if he likes them most of the time.
Right. Yeah.
The way things have been going.
Yeah, exactly. And Fi makes him some dumplings, and they look really good. Like, that's the type of Chinese food I like. I like real authentic Chinese food. I want to try that type of stuff. But when I thought about this film, it actually has a pretty similar structure to My Blueberry Nights, in the sense that you see him kind of go from job to job to job, like she does in the film. She goes from different waitressing jobs in different cities she goes to in the U.S. And that's kind of like this. He goes from working as the doorman to working in a Chinese restaurant to then working at like a meat packing plant. So it kind of has a similar structure. And he tells Fi that Chang tells Fi that he's from Taiwan, and his family, I guess, doesn't know that he's in Argentina. So Fi is kind of like, he finds that intriguing, and so Fi comes back home and he accuses Wing of looking through his stuff, and he's yelling at him, and Wing is pissed off that he's accusing him, and Fi leaves again, and how Wing puts the blanket back on because Wing was like asleep, and he still has his bandages on his hands or whatever.
Yeah.
Because and just like Fi's like, you've been looking at my stuff. He's like, I've been looking at his stuff. He's like, yeah, you're right. And he's like, no. And he's like, okay. And then Fi just leaves and slams the door, and the Wing is like he puts the blanket on him. He's like, oh.
Yeah, but he's like struggling.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Like he does it in this kind of diva-ish way. Yeah, pretty funny. But then we do see Wing looking around all his crap. He's probably looking for his passport, right? He's like, yeah. He's kind of tearing up the room, and when he comes back, Wing asks Fi. He's like, oh, like, did you hook up with some guy? And he's like, oh, I'm not like you. And Fi asks him how many people he slept with. He's like, you really want to know? It's 3:30. I could go on all night. Whoa. And then he kicks him out of the room. He's like, you slut! He kicks him out, but then he lets him back because Fi is brushing his teeth, and then Wing asks him how many times did you do it with this guy? And he won't tell. But then we see this scene of them chilling on the rooftop, and it's hot. You can feel the heat from the scene. And it almost feels like they're in New York, on top of a roof in New York during summer, and they're chilling there, and then Wing pours water on Fi's back and kisses his back. And then we see these kids playing outside, in the distance. It's kind of funny that he threw that in. I guess he wanted to juxtapose this homosexual act with kids playing in the distance. I don't know.
Yeah, I think he was also trying to show that it's common to see. I would say it is common to see kids playing outside, because it also reminds me of Son of the Bride, which is an Argentinian film, and when it shows the main character being a kid, he's playing outside with his friends, and that's when they get into the whole thing with their bullies, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
So in a way, it reminds me of it too.
Yeah, I mean, did that come out the same year, or when did that come out the next year?
It might have. Let me look it up right now.
Yeah. Son of the Bride with Ricardo Darín is kind of like the biggest Argentinian actor, or one of the biggest.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the most well known. Actually, no, this came out way later. It came out in 2001.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
For some reason I thought it was late 90s.
So yes, Son of the Bride. It was directed by Juan Jose Campanella.
Yeah, who would go on? He ended up doing Secret in Their Eyes, and then he ended up doing like a lot of American stuff after that too. He did I remember he did like episodes of House and shit after that. So yeah, Ricardo Darín, he did Nine Queens first. He did Nine Queens in 2000, and then he did Son of the Bride in 01. So yeah, we see Phi at the restaurant, and he calls Wing, but I guess he's not there. And then we see Wing sitting at the table, but then he's gone, and the curtain is blowing at Phi's apartment. So we can assume that he left maybe for good, or he's just blowing off Phi. And I like this long blurry shot of Phi when he opens the door to the apartment and he sees that Wing isn't there. Like he's kind of sad. Like he's kind of sad to not see him there, even though he's annoying him. It's like he can't live with him and he can't live without him. Mm-hmm. He was kind of sad to not see him there. But then Wing does come back later and he brings a bunch of cigarettes that he brought. Phi asks him like, "Oh, why are you so dressed up?" He says, "Oh, I don't get out much, so I dress up when I do." He's like, "Okay." And then we see Phi. He buys a shitload of cigarettes. He buys like 1 million packs of cigarettes. And Wing asks him, "Oh, why'd you buy so many?" He says, "Well, so you don't have to go out every night to get some." And Wing, like, that pisses him off, I guess. Like, I guess he likes going out for his little stroll, his cigarette stroll. So then he, like, goes up to the cigarettes and he's like, he starts, like, tossing them and throwing them all over the place after he, like, neatly stacked them all or whatever. He starts throwing them all over the place. And I guess he was pissed off about that.
Well, if he likes going out for strolls, it makes sense. Because now he's preventing him from doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
Or at least he's trying his very best.
But I think Phi wanted him because I think he thinks he might be going out trying to meet guys or something. He's using
but why? Yeah, but why do you want to stick around to someone like that?
You know how it is. Yeah. With these two.
Like we said, it's a very toxic and abusive relationship.
Yeah. So Wing comes back from somewhere and Phi asks him where he went, and he said to buy some stuff. He got bored, and so they get into another argument from that. Mm-hmm. And then we see these Chinese guys playing soccer in the street. I guess they're the guys who work at the restaurant. They're just doing that on their free time. Mm-hmm. And I like how they show this. We see these guys play 3 different times, and so 3 is the magic number. Cinema happens in 3s. So, I knew that when I first saw this movie, I was like, I had a feeling you're going to see this like 3 times. And then you end up seeing it 3 times. Yeah. So they're playing, and I like the shadows and the light that comes through the lens flare here in the shot. Like, I like how dark the shadows are there. Mm-hmm. I like the high contrast of that. And we see Wing put on his leather jacket. He looks cool. He's smoking. He's ready to go out. And Phi plays Majong with these other guys he works with. I always wanted to learn how to play Mahjong. I never learned how to play it. Well, I mean, you have a Chinese friend. Maybe she can teach us how to play, right?
She might know. I've never asked her, but, maybe I'll ask her when I see her sometime this week.
Yeah. No. And I think we tried to show her some of his films, right? But she never wanted to see them or whatever.
Well, she tried watching them, but because they're in Cantonese, she couldn't understand. She speaks Mandarin. So she said they're both two very different languages.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I like this shot of the window hole of the restaurant. You can see, like, in the kitchen, the hole there that they have in the window. I like that because it's a similar shot that you see in My Blueberry Nights too. In one of the restaurants she works at, you can see that type of hole in the kitchen. And then we hear him on the voiceover. He says, "Oh, I hoped Wing wouldn't heal too soon. Those were our happiest days." And we see it's in black and white again, and he's taking care of him. So I guess it's kind of like a flashback of when he was really sick and taking care of him. And then it goes back to color, and Fai's in the room holding a switchblade for some reason. And Wing sees him, and then he just goes to bed after that. And then Fai cooks for them, and Wing is about to go out. He's dressed up, and he just straight up asks him, "Did you take my passport?" And Fai says, "No." Wing says, "Give it back."
And then Fai says, "I'm not giving it back."
Yeah, and Wing is pissed, and he just leaves. He just walks out, and then Fai, he eats his rice really slowly. It reminds me of when we see him eating in Chungking Express, like eating his noodles that he was eating.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that. And then Wing comes back, and he's tearing up the place. He's just, flipping this whole room upside down. And he wants his damn passport, and Fai just keeps saying that he won't give it back. So then Wing starts to hit Fai. He starts punching him, and Fai's like, "Fuck you," and so Wing just leaves again in frustration. And we see Fai laying on this boat, and he's either really sad or sick or something. Like, he's like face down, like kind of laying over this boat, and it's set to that sad Astor Piazzolla music there, and it's a cool little shot. There's no dialogue or anything. There's no voiceover, but it's just I like that shot. And then they're in the kitchen at the restaurant, and yeah, we see that circle window again, and the kid Chang, he asks Fai if he wants to go for a drink, and cut to Fai throwing up because he drank too much. And Chang takes him home. He takes him to his apartment, and he leaves him there to rest. And then we see them playing soccer again, so this is the second time. And yeah, I love the shot there, just like the dark shadows there. And then a waitress at the restaurant, he's in the kitchen. They're both in the kitchen. This Chinese waitress, asks Chang if he would like to go out with her, but he tells her, "Oh, I'm a weirdo," and she just walks away. Yeah.
Well,
at least he's being honest, I guess.
Yeah, I wouldn't say he's a weirdo, but maybe complicated.
Yeah, I mean, he tells him that, so. And then he tells Fai, he's like, "Oh, she's pretty hot." And then Fai's like, "Well, why didn't you go out with her then?" And then he's like, "Oh, I don't like the sound of her voice." And then Chang asks Fai, "Oh, what kind of girls' voices do you like?" And then Fai is kind of like looking around, and it's kind of like, "Oh, I don't know. I never really thought about it." Like, he's trying to hide the fact that he's gay.
Yeah, of course. He doesn't want to admit to it.
Yeah, and he doesn't know how this guy will take it. Even though this kid, I was even thinking he was gay, that kid.
Interesting.
I don't know, just something about him. But I don't think that ever really comes out in the movie, that he is or isn't. And then we see this exterior shot of the bar, and it's a cool little time lapse too. And I never really noticed that until now, we just watched it. This quick little shot of the bar, it's like in a time lapse. It's really cool.
Yeah.
And Fai and him are chilling in the bar, and Chang is like, oh, I think those guys are about to fight. And Fai's like, well, how do you know? And then all of a sudden, those guys start fighting. He's like, oh. He's like, yeah, well, I've always been good at hearing things. That's what he tells him. He says, you can see better with your ears. That's what he tells him. Soccer again in the alley for the third and final time. And they play for money. I guess that's why they've been playing. They've been kind of gambling.
Mm-hmm.
You know, who scores the most goals. And then they win $5. So Chang's like, hey, we won $5. And Chang's like, here's 2. And then Fai's like, oh, well, why do you get 3? And then Chang's like, okay, here you go, 3. It's just kind of funny. Like, no questions asked. He gives him $3.
Well, you should have been fair from the beginning.
Well, I mean, it's uneven. It's an odd number, so.
Yeah.
And they didn't have change, I guess. They couldn't each get $2.50, so one had to get 3, and one had to get 2. So. Jeez. But at least he was nice to just give it to him.
Yeah, sure.
Because he's like, oh, why do you get 3? He's like, okay, here, you have 3. And then there's a slow motion shot of him smoking, with them playing in the background. Like they continue to play soccer, and he's like smoking slowly, set to that Frank Zappa song. It's a really cool shot. The lens flare that kicks in there, it's cool, and it's real. It's not like nowadays they put digital lens flares just to make it look cool. You know, like I want that lens flare look, but no, this is a real lens flare on real film. You know, that's what makes it cool. And then we see this shot of the Three Amigos bar, and he walks away slowly, and they're back inside the Three Amigos bar, and Chang asks Fai where he's going, and he said he's going south to Ushuaia, to Iguazu Falls, and he said, he asked him, well, why do you want to go there? And he said, oh, I read a book where people say that they go there to leave their sadness. He's like, oh, okay, well, that's cool. And Chang hands him a voice recorder that he has. He tells him, oh, record something. He's like, oh, I'll be back. He said, I don't like taking pictures, so I'd rather use this. So he gives it to Fai, and he walks away, goes to the bathroom or something. And then Fai doesn't know what to say. Like, he's like, okay, what do I say? But then he, starts crying. Like, he starts breaking down. I think he starts thinking about Wing and just how they couldn't keep their relationship together and how tumultuous it was. I think that's what he's thinking about. And then he's probably thinking of home, too. Just being far from home. You know, you're in a totally different country, far away, and that probably... I think those two things made him cry in that moment. And then we cut to Fai throwing up again in the bathroom. Chang comes in and says, well, I guess this is goodbye. After he helps him throw up and pats his back. And they shake hands. And I like these super quick freeze frames there, because you almost think it's like a glitch on the stream or the DVD when you see it, because it's so quick. Like, I remember when I first saw this, I was like, wait, was that like the DVD skipping, or but no, it's on the actual film. Like, it's like a really quick freeze frame that they do.
I really like those kinds of effects.
Yeah, I mean, and Wong Kar Wai does that a lot.
Yeah. Which I've noticed.
Yeah, so I love it. And this scene makes me kind of sad when I see it. Like, you think about the friends you had or the people you met, especially before social media, and before cell phones. Like, people maybe you met during your school days, and you just think about you met them for like a fleeting moment, and you thought maybe you could be friends, but it didn't really go anywhere. You only knew them for that one day or that one moment, and that was it. It makes me think of things like that. So it's like, these guys could have had a really good friendship, but then it's like, okay, but now they're separated. So they kind of man hug here. Yeah, it's a nice little scene. And Chang says, I hope we meet again someday. And yeah, you feel the emotion there. I could feel it. And Chang walks out, and Fai looks at him as he walks away. But Chang told him that his family works at the night market in Taiwan. So he's like, if you're over there, try to look for them. And we cut to Fai's at a soccer game. I guess you know that because that's part of what Argentina is really big for.
Yes.
And part of that making of on the DVD, there was a shot where you actually see Tony. He meets Maradona in a scene because I guess he had him. He because it was probably a thing where he wanted to put it in the movie, but it didn't quite work out in the editing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's on the making of. You see, Tony meet Maradona. He's like, oh, there. He like shakes his hand randomly. He's like, I don't know this guy, but okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of cool.
Wow.
Yeah, but like the fact that he met him, someone so famous,
Yeah.
because it's not like you can just go there and meet him. I mean, obviously, he passed away now, but it's like you can't just go there and expect to meet him like that. But then again, it's like I guess I wouldn't expect to meet Wong Kar Wai on the streets of San Diego either.
Yeah, for sure.
And then Phi is asleep, and we see another time-lapse shot of Buenos Aires.
9 de julio.
Yeah.
Now we have it correct.
Yeah.
I don't know why it didn't occur to me to look that up earlier, but now we know. Yes, we look over at the Avenida 9 de julio.
Yeah, and this shot really reminds me of Fallen Angels. The shot of the clock there really reminds me of that. And we see Phi walking around the city, and it's set to that Frank Zappa song with "I have been in you, baby, you have been in me." And I guess I wonder if you use that song because of the lyrics, like the sexuality of it. I don't think that's what Zappa meant.
Yeah, but I think there is. I think he did see some
correlation.
Yeah, or I was going to say double entendre.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Like I have been in you, you have been in me, like literally. It's kind of interesting. But yeah, I love the shots here. They're like sped up, they're slow down. You see a lot of local color, and you see him interacting with a lot of guys on the street. I guess they're kind of like male prostitutes on the street.
Well, yeah. Male sex workers.
Yeah.
Just want to be more PC on this.
Okay. Yeah, you see him interact with a lot of local color, and it's cool. It reminds me of this. Almost reminds me of All About My Mother when she goes to this sex worker area in Madrid. There, also with a dash of like Mike here. It reminds me a little bit of some scenes of Ichi the Killer, where you see a lot of local stuff that wasn't planned. It was just raw street footage. I love that. And just the techniques of the editing, speeding up, slowing down. I love that. So Phi's there, and he's meeting up with dudes for sex, basically. Mm-hmm. And then we see Wing walk into some bathroom, and Phi is in there too, but they kind of miss each other. They don't really
notice that they're at each other's.
Yeah, but I guess Phi did notice he was there, but he was purposely trying to avoid him. Yeah, and I like the tiles in that bathroom. Nice tiles. And Phi goes in to watch. He goes to see some gay porn in the theater, kind of like Pee Wee Herman, did that time. Mm-hmm. So yeah, he goes into some gay porn theater, and he sits next to some guy with long hair, and then that guy is like, "Ooh," and so that guy just starts going down on Phi right there during the film.
Interesting detail.
Yeah. It's but that's what I was saying. That was another sexual shot, out from the beginning. How that beginning was intense. This is another kind of sexual scene. Yeah. But yeah, the shots here, what it's all about, the timing. So coloration in film, when they edit the colors, they call that timing. Mm-hmm. Even though that sounds weird, you would think that would be editing, but when they do color correction on film, it's called timing. Mm-hmm. So the timing there, I think, was really good. And he's smoking by the phone booth. That's a really cool shot. And he says that he stole money from the job that he had before leaving Hong Kong. And he says that his dad got him that job, and he wants to return the money someday, but who knows if that'll ever happen. And he calls his dad on that payphone where he was smoking by, but he doesn't hear anything. So he writes a letter to his dad, and he narrates what he writes basically, and he says, "Oh, it's December now, so it's summer in Argentina." I mean, when you think about that, that's crazy to me. Like the fact that it's when
Yeah.
it's summer there.
Well, it is for them. It is the southern hemisphere, and we're in the northern hemisphere. And I think a lot of times people who are in the northern hemisphere do forget that.
Yeah,
So,
I definitely do. Like,
so right now we're dying in the heat, but they're having cold.
right,
So
exactly. And that's the thing. We associate Christmas with like the cold. You know, we associate Santa Claus and stuff with like cold and snow. So when you think about them, they celebrate Santa Claus
with
the heat and
warmth,
beach.
yes.
You know,
Yeah,
to
I
me
know.
that's weird to me.
So for Christmas and New Year's, they'll go to the beach.
Yeah, yeah. See, that's weird, but it's cool.
Well, hey, however they can get to celebrate it's all fine by me.
Yeah, that's where I see, like, to me, Argentina and Australia kind of have a similar vibe in that sense. Just the summer, winter summer, the surf, you know,
Yeah.
dudes with long hair, like it kind of has that type of vibe. So, Fi starts working at a butchery, meat packing plant, I guess, and he works nights and sleeps days. That's what he mentions. So he's back on Hong Kong time because it's like opposite, basically, from where he's at. And he said that Wing kept calling him for his passport. And he said he would give it to him, but he doesn't want to see him. That's the thing. So Wing goes to his apartment and he knocks on the door, and he's able to open it, but no one's there. Doesn't see it. And Fi mentions how he found out that China and Argentina are on opposite sides of the world, and he wonders what Hong Kong would look like upside down. And then we see one of my favorite shots. To me, it's an infamous shot of the upside down Hong Kong, and you see all the cars upside down driving and everything. I love that. Like when I first saw this, I was like, "That's fucking genius." I was like, "That's so good." Like, I love it. But that's what Wong Kar Wai is like. He has those simple genius ideas. It's those ideas. It's like those Beetle ideas, where it's like, why did no one else think of that? Why did no one else take that idea that was sitting right in front of you, and these guys managed to do it? You know, like, to me, that's what the Beatles were so good at, and I think this is the instance where Wong Kar Wai was really good at that too. And Wing calls Fi's place, and the old man answers, and he tells him that he moved. And we see Wing is shocked. He's on the phone, like moved, like what? And he's shocked. He's sad. And we see Wing's passport. It's actually sitting on Fi's bed, so I guess he left it there before he took off. And he's like, if he can get in here, he can get it. And Fi says before he goes back to Hong Kong, he wants to try to visit Iguazu Falls again. So we see his POV on the road driving to the falls. We see the road, and it's set to that Astor Piazzolla music, and this is like the final Astor Piazzolla. So it's like it's like crescendoing and starting to climax here. We hear the that's like the kind of sad build up. But then when he's finally getting closer and he gets there, we hear the accordion. Like, I love that.
Yeah.
That's so good. That's just another instance of Wong Kar Wai's genius with music.
Yeah, it just really gets to your emotion. Your emotion. Yeah.
Yeah, so imagine, what was your reaction when you first saw this? Because to me, when I first saw this, and like, it really hit me emotionally, but did you feel the same way? Or did you feel like you needed to watch it again to feel that?
Well, I don't know. More than anything, just watching those scenes made me really want to go there someday and just really experience it and just see it for myself.
Yeah. So we got to do that.
Yes. Whenever either these cats are willing to go with us, or if we can find a really good pet sitter.
Yeah.
Because
Well, maybe my sister Denise watch them. Yeah.
yeah, but she deserves a break too.
Yeah, but it's not like she does it every day or anything.
No.
So yeah, we see him on the way, and then we see Wayne. He's at the bar, that Tango bar. He's drunk and sad, and then this random older man is like, "Let's dance," and so he starts to tango with him. And there's a sadness to that too.
Mm-hmm.
Him
Yeah.
dancing with him, and you still hear that same music. That they're dancing to that, and it's almost like Wing is like, this is like his last dance, like Ravenettes. This is the last dance, like he's given up. He's like, okay, like I won't be with Fi ever again. So this is just like my purgatory, kind of.
Yeah.
And Wing, we see him outside, pissed off, and then I guess he starts staying at Fi's place. So he must have found his passport there because he starts staying there.
Yeah, it had to be there.
Yeah. So, but then I guess maybe he's like, well, if I can stay here, maybe I'm not in such a rush to go back home then, because I guess he likes his place. Like, kind of starts setting up shop in there. Like, he starts loading shitloads of cigarettes on the shelf. Mm-hmm. And it's like, why would you buy that many if you don't plan on staying there that long? And then we see Wing. He fixes that Iguazu Falls lamp because he was like, he uses some tool on it, and then he starts working again. And we see it spinning, and Wing lifts the lamp, and on the drawing of the lamp, you can actually see there's like two people that there's like two figures looking at the waterfalls, and then we cut to he's like clutching the blanket, and he starts crying because I think he thinks about like, oh, like he misses Fi. He's like, that could have been me and him, but it's not. Now I'm alone. He's gone. And I think he just really feels the sadness in that moment. Yeah. And then we see Fi, he made it to the falls. We see him there. He's in the middle of all the, the waterfalls. And it's a great shot. Like, you see the water falling on the camera and like all the mist and stuff. Like, I love that. And he's just like soaking it up. And then it cuts back to that same shot from the beginning of the falls, the aerial shot. And, yeah. But then he lets it linger even longer, and we still hear that Astor Piazzolla music there. But that shot, it's like a 5-minute shot or something like that. You see the falls for a long, long time, and I think it's really cool. I love that because you would never see that in a Hollywood movie. No, you wouldn't be like, I'm going to show waterfalls for like 5 minutes. Like you just wouldn't see that. It just, people, it would never even get to that point because if that was in the script, the businessman would be like, no. Like, we're crossing that shit out. You're not going to put that in. So it would never even make it. But that's what's great about Wong Kar Wai and foreign film and Hong Kong. It's like they're willing to be more experimental. Like, they'll trust the filmmaker. Obviously there are people putting up money into it, but they're like, okay, we trust you. Like, if you know what you're doing, we'll give you the money to do it. Yeah, they let her do it.
Okay. So we just had to let Tom Hanks out. Our cat, not the actor.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, the shot of the falls is great. And then we fade to black, and then we fade up from black, and it's January 97. And Chang says that he finally arrives to the end of the world. And he's, I guess, at Ushuaia, and he plays the tape of Fi that Fi recorded. Mm-hmm. And he was like, oh, I wanted to leave your sadness here, but then I just heard someone crying. Whatever, like, he doesn't connect the dots that was him or whatever. He's like, I just heard some crying. He's like, I played it, but he's like, I was just confused. I didn't know what to do.
Well, if he doesn't know the context, he doesn't know.
Yeah, and then Chang goes back to Buenos Aires before leaving for Taiwan, and he said he wants to say bye to Fi, but nobody knows where he is. So it's kind of disappointing. So then we see Phi is back in Taiwan, and it's February 20th, 97. And Wong Kar Wai, he threw in on the news how like the Chinese leader died the night before. So it's kind of interesting. Sometimes he'll throw in little news bits in his films to like kind of mark time to show you, not for any political reasons or anything.
And also, I feel like he does it to give it some sort of realism.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He wants to show you the real world too. Mm-hmm. These stories are happening within that. It's not like happening in some Marvel universe. But you know what I mean?
Not that I expected to be in a Marvel universe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Phi, he goes to the Taiwan night market, and he goes to some random stand to eat, and the food looks really good. It's like I want to eat all that stuff. But then he looks.
And it's a really busy market.
Too. Yeah, exactly. And he's talking with the people there, and it seems like it's family owned. And then he looks up and he sees a picture of Chang. He sees Chang at that at Ushuaia there, and I guess he sent them a picture to his family, and he sees him there, and he's like, "Oh, cool." And he says that he was hoping to bump into Chang, but that didn't happen. So he goes up and he takes the picture of him that was there. I don't know if he asked for permission; he just took it. So he takes the picture there, and Phi says, "Like I didn't bump into him, but if I do want to see him, I know where to find him." Then that's the end of the dialogue, and then we hear this random cover of "Happy Together" by the Turtles. It's done by like Freddie Chang or something like that is his name. But it's a good cover, I think. Mm-hmm. And we see the time lapse of Taiwan. We see like the neon city of it, and Phi is listening on his headphones, and we just see like what a like metropolitan city it is, and then we see the open tracks of the train ahead of him, and it's like blah, 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 and we hear that, and then we see just I love seeing the road ahead on the train, and then the train comes to a stop, and then the credits roll up, and the backdrop is the Iguazu Falls lamp. You can see the drawings from the lamp, and yeah, and then "Happy Together" plays out the song, and that's pretty much it on the film. I noticed that on that Frank Zappa track, I guess Adrian Belew plays guitar and sings on that. So
actually, I do want to make a correction. I think. Wait, hold on. Now I'm a little confused about who covered. Okay, who covered that song?
I don't remember the actual artist. I think his name was like Freddie something. Because the original is by the Turtles.
Yeah, we all know it's by the Turtles.
But that version, it was particular to that movie. It wasn't like a famous version. It was like they just made that version for the film.
That's what I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Let me keep looking at, because I don't know if that was really the artist's name.
Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking, how come I can't?
I mean, it is. Yeah, it's kind of hard to find, honestly, that version. You would need the soundtrack, the official soundtrack. Like, if you check on Spotify, they don't have it.
Yeah, I'm looking further, and
maybe on YouTube it would have the version.
Yeah, they could.
But yeah, Adrian Belew plays and sings on that track. So while you look that up, Adrian Belew, he's very important to pop music because he was in King Crimson. Which
actually, I found the artist. His name is Danny Cheung.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. I knew it was something like that.
Yeah. Oh, you said a different name.
It said Freddie Chang, which is the guy from Rush Hour 2.
Okay, two different people.
Yeah. So Adrian Belew, he was in King Crimson. If you like that band.
Interesting one for sure.
Yeah. But one of his main contributions to pop music is that he did that riff for Genius of Love, which is a very important riff.
Yes. Well, which was it was originally done by Tom Tom Club, but it has since been either covered or interpolated.
Yeah, Mariah Carey.
Yes.
Speaking of Russia.
Yes.
Yeah. I think Lotto, this rapper, she did it too. Something else that Adrian Belew is known for is he produced Caifanes. He produced some of their work.
Yes.
And he also produced for Santa Sabina too.
Yes.
So those are two.
Another great Mexican band.
Yeah.
And their front woman, unfortunately, is no longer with us. She had one of the best voices in Spanish language rock.
Right. She was great.
Yes.
Loved her. So just for these things, the riff on Genius of Love producing Caifanes and Santa Sabina, to me, he should be in the Hall of Fame for that. That alone is great. So yeah, Adrian Belew. Anything else you want to say about Happy Together?
Well, I do want to say is, if you ever find yourself in that kind of relationship, run for your lives. No matter how attached you become to that person, as soon as you start seeing all these red flags, just leave it. Honestly, it might hurt right in the moment, and it might feel that it's a very difficult thing to do, but believe me, things will get better afterwards.
Right.
So I just want to say that. And another thing is, I think it's really interesting that they decided to pick Argentina as the new place that they would settle in.
Well, I guess that was Wong Kar Wai because he's a fan of Argentinian writers. He really liked Manuel Puig. So I guess that's why he was like, oh, like I would like to visit sometime. Maybe let's do a story there. And so they kind of shot this there on a whim. But to me, it's some of his greatest work, if not his greatest film.
Yeah. No, I think that was a really good choice.
Yeah. So I think Wong, he was a fan of the Argentinian culture. So that's why they did it there. Yeah, I think he likes tango and tango music and stuff like that. So that was him behind it. But yeah, Happy Together, one of my favorite films ever, from one of my favorite directors ever. Glad we got to talk about it here on Briterion Bollection. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Yes. We appreciate it. Yeah, we'll see you next time.
All right. See you.
Later.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Say bye, Tom.
Or not. He's just turning his back on the camera.
Okay. Well, Tom says bye.
Okay.
We'll see you next time.
In some form.
Okay.
And his number. Okay. All right. Thank you for listening.
Bye.
Bye.